Williams gunning for a 4 up at sea.
And here comes Robinson, trying to steal home. He's safe, says the ump.
There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron. There it goes, a long drive. If it stays fair, home run.
Little roller up along first, behind the bag, gets through Buckner. Here comes Ryan in the next minute.
And let it be said that number 8, Cal Ripken Jr., has reached the unreachable star.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened.
We'll see you tomorrow night.
Touch them all, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life. The throw to the plate will be late. The Mariners are going to play for the American League Championship.
A liner off Bobby's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won.
Derek Jeter with one of the most unbelievable plays you will ever see by a shortstop.
The shot is thrown. Roberts safe.
This is going to be a tough play. Bryant, the Cubs win the World Series. Bryant makes the play. It's over. And the Cubs have finally won it all. 8-7-10.
Good morning, Peterborough. My name is Jim Tubb, and it is time for your Sports Break, broadcasted on 92.7 C Triple FM at the wonderful facilities of Trent Radio in Peterborough, Canada. This show, of course, can be streamed online at trentradio.ca, or you can follow what we're talking about on Twitter at SportsBreakTR. The weather outside today is hot and humid. It is like, I got the weather in front of me. It's 16. Humidity probably feels like 85. It's kind of warm. And then tomorrow's supposed to be like 13. I don't know what's going on. I just think that the weather is getting ready for the MLB Playoffs. Whoo! Oh, baby! The MLB Playoffs start tonight. We have the NL. Just want to make sure we have the NL wild card tonight at 8 o'clock in Washington. It is the Milwaukee Brewers. Tough start. The Milwaukee Brewers versus the Washington Nationals. It is going to be a great game, not just because it's two very good teams. It's playoff baseball. This is such a cliche, but this is what you play the entire season for. And here we are. It's finally here. Now, it does suck. Christian Yelich is not going to play tonight, obviously. Still going to be Max Scherzer is starting for the Nationals. It's just going to be a great game. It's simple as that, because it's playoff baseball. And it's wild card baseball. This is a game, you lose, you go home. You win, you get to keep playing. All holds barred tonight. That means Max Scherzer starts, Strasburg comes in, and then the closer for the Nationals. If you're the Brewers, Josh Hader goes like 5 innings as a reliever. Never seen before, but it happens. You just do whatever you can to win, and then you figure it out from there. That's the best part about playoff baseball. It's not just like hockey. Love hockey. Hockey is one of the best playoffs. But in baseball, you can't just play one game and then go to the next. It's not the same rotating staff that plays, if that makes sense. You have to think about the next game. Or don't think about the next game, bet it all on this game, and just hope for the best in the next game, which we've seen before. It's all about managing your pitchers, managing your players. Not your players as much, I should say, actually. Your players just play. I'm getting really deep into this. All you have to know, proper grammar here at Trent Radio, playoffs start tonight. So for the next month, we have playoff baseball. So I hope you have a butt indent in your couch, because you're going to need it, because there's nowhere else you should be. Maybe work, maybe. You got to pay that cable bill. School, never heard of it. Playoffs are more important. Shout out mom and dad. Yeah, the NHL season starts tomorrow night. We aren't going to talk about the NHL today. There's just too much with the baseball season, too much great content with the MLB playoffs starting and the end of the MLB season. We will get to the NHL season next week. We'll cover that more. Lots of interesting stuff in the NHL. The Leafs lineup, I guess I could say right now, it looks pretty much what everyone would have expected. Rasmus Sandin is going to make the team. That's awesome. And yeah, I guess for the Leafs, it's buck up or sit down, win the cup. That's all. There's not much more to say there. In the MLB, though, before we get into the Toronto Blue Jays or the playoffs, well, there's a lot of breaking stuff coming in. Stuff comes out at the end of the season. A lot of players, it looks like this is it. They're heading in towards the sunshine. Not the sunshine, sunset. Felix Hernandez, of course, had his last start as a Seattle Mariner. He's had an amazing career so far. Kind of tailed off in the last 4 or 5 years, but pure dominance along Clayton Kershaw and Justin Verlander. Alex Gordon with the Royals, Curtis Granderson with the Marlins, Ben Zobrist, who of course didn't play many games this year, but has won 2 World Series MVPs back-to-back and 2 World Series back-to-back. Not a big deal. Brian McCann with the Braves as he's suiting up for the playoffs. Russell Martin with the Dodgers also suiting up for the playoffs. Both guys are old catchers, but really good pros in the game and just have played it for a long time the right way, I guess is the way to say it in baseball. Adam Wainwright, who could get the start in Game 1 for the Cardinals against the Braves Division Series. Fernando Rodney's going to pitch tonight at some point, probably. And then the big one of the year was Dustin Pedroia, who had an injured knee since the start, could barely walk around. He's played 1,500 games, 140 home runs. But that's not who Pedroia was. Pedroia was this bulldog that just played hard. Got on base, got hits, and played pretty great defense for the Red Sox. And it was a guy who never should have made it. Was told he would never could. A lot like Altuve. Not just because he's short. That's kind of rude. But, just wasn't full. Scouts didn't think he was good because he was short. Simple as that. But then he proved them wrong and was a really good player. I believe he won an MVP. I should know that, but I believe that he did win an MVP in I want to say 20 something. That doesn't really help. 2008, that's what it was. He won the MVP. And on a team that had David Ortiz, somebody else is winning the MVP. Kind of crazy. Of course, in Chicago, the Cubs did not make the playoffs for the first time in 4 years. It's a big deal for the Cubs, a team that has spent a lot of money on guys like John Lester, Jose Quintana, Cole Hamels, Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, Javier Baez, Addison Russell, Wilson Contreras. The list goes on and on and on. And they didn't make the playoffs.
Football playing.
Which means the end for Joe Madden as the manager in Chicago. He was let go. Of course, he helped break the 108-year curse of the Chicago Cubs, the championship drought, which it kind of didn't catch anyone off guard, I mean. At least not me. And that sounds kind of braggy, but it made sense that the Cubs, it sounded like there was no longer a good environment there, and they wanted to let him go. And already the Los Angeles Angels fired their manager, Brad Ausmus, who used to be the manager in Detroit. After 1 season, they fired him after 1 season to go after Joe Madden, which for the Angels, I think is a great idea. If they can get Joe Madden, if they could try and get Garrett Cole, who could potentially win the Cy Young this year, and is going to be a good pitcher for the next couple of years, it looks like just give Mike Trout a team to play with. He's the best player of this generation. He's going to be the best player of all time. And he's only made the playoffs once. He can't do it on his own. Give him a team to play with. And I think Joe Madden is a good start. We've seen what he's done in Chicago. Maybe he'll change it up in LA. I know he likes LA. He lives there in the offseason. But just give Mike Trout a team. That's all I can say. I know Mike Trout probably wouldn't have played in the playoffs right now if he's hurt. I don't know how severe his injury was. But they did shut him down for the rest of the year. But we need Mike Trout. You want your best players in the playoffs, and that includes getting Mike Trout there. Bruce Bochy, I can't remember if we talked about Bruce Bochy last week, but he is another manager retiring. Him and Ned Yost, both they faced off in, of course, the 2014 World Series with Bochy's Giants winning. Bochy won 3 World Series with the Giants. He had over 2,000 wins. He's pretty much a shoo-in for the MLB Hall of Fame, which is amazing. Like, as a manager, he used to manage the San Diego Padres, and then he came over and managed the Giants. People asking if he was going to go manage the Padres next season because they are looking for a manager, and he just was like, "No, I'm done." And when you're done, and that's perfect. If you can get out on your own terms, it makes it look a lot better than like if you just stay and the team is eventually like, "Get out." Like you're not leaving anything good here. You're not leaving with a positive attitude. So Bochy, I'm sure we'll see him somewhere in the game, whether it'll be thrown out a first pitch in San Francisco or maybe on a broadcast. I don't know whether he's interested in that, but I don't think Bochy's just going to disappear from baseball right away. The big deal with the Nationals tonight, of course, they're playing at 8 o'clock against the Brewers. Their MVP for this season, easily Anthony Rendon, filling in for the role that Bryce Harper when he went to Philadelphia and the Phillies this season. How'd that work for him? Signed him to over a $300 million contract, doesn't make the playoffs. Kind of a tough look, not going to lie. And Rendon has had an amazing season, is up there for the NL MVP. Of course, it's a tough race against Cody Bellinger and Christian Yelich. But Washington doesn't want to follow what they did last year in the Bryce Harper negotiations, which can also be thought of maybe they didn't even want to sign Bryce Harper. Now you're getting into some conspiracy theories and rabbit holes. Kind of worked out for the Nationals not signing Bryce Harper. Would they like Bryce Harper? Who wouldn't want 30 home runs in their lineup? Who also can pay the $350 million or $300 and some odd million dollars. But the Nationals offered Rendon a 7-year deal worth between $200 and $215 million. And of course, Rendon is going to become a free agent after the 2019 World Series. This deal was offered in early September. They wanted to get the offer out to Rendon, but with it being so close to free agency, he's like, you know what? I'm going to test free agency, which is not a terrible idea because like you could make a lot of money. And there's teams that need a third baseman. The New York Yankees need a third baseman. I know their lineup's huge. They got Gio Urshela, Miguel Andujar, but it never hurts to have an actual like third baseman. And then this sounds great. You could trade those guys or just release them. Like if it's not going to work out, you want someone that can play there. Third base, for as great as a position it is an easily replaceable one. There's a lot of teams that could use a Boston, might use one. I don't know if they would ever move Rafael Devers over to first base. They could also move Rendon over to first base. I'm just trying to... I said it's an easy fill spot, and I can only think of 2 teams that need it. A lot of teams need it. New York Mets. We'll throw out another team. We'll just stop that. But yeah, Rendon, huge on the Nationals. I could see him staying. Just kind of throw it into Harper's face. And because he likes the Nationals, and they're a very good baseball team. And they look like they're going to be a very good baseball team for the next couple years. They got a nice young core. Trey Turner, Victor Roble in center field. Of course, Max Scherzer's a little old, but he's going to pitch till he's 45. Steven Strasburg. Patrick Corbin just signed a 5-year deal. So for Rendon, he didn't accept this one. They're going to probably qualify his offer, give him a qualifying offer at the end of the season, which is just essentially a 1-year deal worth, I think it's $16 million. And that's just like, all right, since we've had you this long, we get you, offer you this. If he doesn't get any deals in free agency, he'll get some deals. But let's say he didn't, he could accept that, and then he would be a member of the Washington Nationals for 1 year. And if another team signs Rendon while he's under a qualifying offer like that, the Nationals get a draft pick. So it's kind of a win, like for the Nationals. Sure, they're going to lose out on this great player, but they get a draft pick. Of course, in baseball, draft picks aren't as like hard hitting as they are in hockey. They're not as guaranteed, but it's at least a compensation for losing a guy to free agency, especially a top-rated player like Anthony Rendon is, who's probably going to have a good impact tonight. So, like I said, 8 o'clock tonight, Milwaukee, Washington. It's going to be a great game. Before we head into the Blue Jays here, one thing with their division rivals, the Boston Red Sox, who, of course, won the World Series last year, had a heck of a World Series against the LA Dodgers. I got my Dodgers hat on right now, not a big deal. They did not look good this season. Their pitching just crapped the bed. And really cost them. Their starting pitching. Their bullpen wasn't great. They never really had a closer. They had a closer by committee, and then they found a closer, but it was too late. So they had a crappy starting pitching. Chris Sale, who they just gave a 5-year, like $200 million extension to, elbow hurts. Nathan Eovaldi had to go under the knife. David Price had to go under the knife. Their best pitcher was Eduardo Rodriguez. Or was it Drew Palmer? It was Eduardo Rodriguez. Not a good look for the Red Sox. And it really cost them. And now it's going to cost them more. Because JD Martinez can opt out this season. Brock Holt's a free agent. And their big fish, Mookie Betts, it sounds like probably isn't going to stay on the team. If JD Martinez stays, doesn't opt out and stays with the team, Red Sox president and CEO Sam Kennedy said there's a way that it could happen, having both Mookie Betts and JD Martinez stay with the team next season, but it will be difficult. And if you're that on the Red Sox and you're going into the offseason here, you're like, so our president thinks it's going to be difficult to sign or keep our best player there. He's not a free agent yet. He's got one more year, but still, that's not very confidence-inducing by thinking, oh, okay, so we might not have Mookie Betts, who's arguably like top 10 player in the league. Cool. And it looks like he's going to be traded in this offseason, believe it or not. Like, that's just in my opinion. Where? Somewhere with a lot of big prospects and can take the money. One that's been floated around is the Atlanta Braves. I think would be a great spot for him. They've got a lot of good pitching prospects in Ian Anderson, Kyle Wright, and they've got Austin Riley. I don't know if they'd want to trade him, but he's a really good third base catching prospect. And for a guy like Mookie Betts, like, it's either 1 year of Mookie Betts or you sign him and you get like 8 years of Mookie Betts. And as Mookie Betts is entering his prime, I don't think Mookie Betts is 30 years old yet. Use the power of Google. But he's a really good baseball player, and he's 26, so he's going to be 27 at the end of next season, 28, rough 20. His birthday's in October, so he'll be 28 at the end of next season. Quick math. That's a really good. You get him for 6 years. He's 34. That's like prime and a bit off of his prime. Who wouldn't want that? That's a really good baseball player, and for the Braves, the Dodgers have been rumored in on him. There's going to be a lot of that. It's going to be a fun off season listening to that. It might get tiring if you're a Red Sox fan. Really sorry, but you will enjoy everybody else in baseball, especially if you're a team about to get him. It's going to be a fun off season listening to that. And actually, I don't know how I forgot about this before we get to the Blue Jays. Of all the players retiring, I didn't mention him. I don't know how. CC Sabathia this season. I think we discussed it last season that he's doing this, last radio season. This is CC Sabathia's last season. These are his last playoffs. Man, like growing up watching baseball, I remember CC Sabathia because he's a guy that stands out, and in no rude way. He's just a bigger guy. He wears pinstripes. You're going to notice CC Sabathia. He's got a loving attitude on the mound, also a fiery attitude on the mound. Ask the Tampa Bay Rays. That would be an amazing series in the AL. The Yankees play the Twins. ALCS, Tampa Bay Rays, New York Yankees. That means the Astros would have to lose to the Rays, but crazier things have happened. We'll give out our predictions on the playoffs later, but CC Sabathia, he is one of only 17 pitchers, 18 now, with 3,000 strikeouts. Justin Verlander got his the other night. He won, of course, the 2007 AL Cy Young Award, the 2009 ALCS MVP, 2009 Yankees won the World Series, and he's had a great career. There's a very good chance he's going to get into the Hall of Fame. First ballot, I don't know. He's a 6-time All-Star. He is not eligible for 5 years, but I don't know how he doesn't get in. He had a career ERA of 3.74, which is higher than all but 2 pitchers in the Hall of Fame. And like he had a good career. I know he had a couple years where his body and his mind didn't work together, and it really hurt him and the team. But he got it back, and he's been really good these past couple seasons. And let's say they add another World Series this season. The Yankees very well could. They're a very good young team. It's only going to help his case. I think it's about like a 90. For me personally, it's like a 95% chance he gets in. I don't know how he doesn't, but a lot of people think maybe he doesn't deserve it. A lot of people are crazy in the nicest way possible. But that's just my opinion. Now, the opinion that matters, we're heading in, is, of course, the Hall of Fame voters. That's the Yankees. The Yankees are going to make the playoffs. They're fine. CC Sabathia is going to get to play in the playoffs. He's fine. For Blue Jays fans, this season, to sum it all up, sucked for half of it. Half of it sucked. When you had Alan Hansen and Socrates Brito, and actually I'll pull up the baseball reference, get all the amount of different players the Blue Jays had playing. It's just unbelievable that all these guys. Kevin Pillar played for the Blue Jays this year. I do not know if many fans remember that Kevin Pillar played five games at the beginning of the season for the Toronto Blue Jays. Because I don't. That's a long time. That was a very long time ago. And this season has just felt long. And I'm not trying to be rude. It's just this season felt like it took forever. Plain and simple, because the team was bad. It's as simple as that. When you have a bad team, the season just seems to take forever. And there's a lot of different things that happened this season. Of course, the Marcus Stroman trade, Aaron Sanchez trade. A lot of people love the Stroman trade because he's gone. That's kind of why I like it. Don't get me wrong. Marcus Stroman, great player. Well, really good player. Really good pitcher. Pain in the butt to have on your team. To see him on Twitter talking too much, and just being an idiot as a professional athlete. Not mad to see him gone. Aaron Sanchez was getting frustrating as a player, of course. Joe Biagini, would have loved to see him stay. I was actually at the game. Tim Meza tore his UCL. Tore his UCL. That was really tough to see. I'll be honest, seeing that in person. You just you see the throw, the ball goes wide, and he just crumbles, and you're just like, oh no. And you see everyone in the stadium. It's just like, are you serious right now? And that was the Blue Jays season. I'm not trying to acquit it to a UCL tear, but it was pretty close. I'm just looking at the list of guys that pitched this season. Ryan Fairbairn, Jimmy Cordero, Zach Rosscup, Ryan Dahl. Just these guys. And we had, of course, you get Luke Mailey, who pitched 2 innings. Richard Urena. The Blue Jays this season. Just a rotating list of people. Their WAR leader this year, which is wins above replacement. That's a really tough thing to try to explain. It's essentially they have a number that's the league average player and how good they would be and how many wins they would attribute to the team. And that's how many more wins above them this player is. So Marcus Stroman leads the Blue Jays with 3.2. The actual only player on the team that's the higher. Closest is Cavan Biggio with 2.8 WAR. Suck it, Keith Law. But yeah, we talked about it going into the end of last radio season and the beginning last week. This is a young Blue Jays team. We knew there was going to be a lot of losses. We knew this was going to suck to watch. And it did. It sucked to watch. But there were some great moments to watch as well. Of course, Vladdy's debut, Vladdy's first 2 home runs in San Francisco, Cavan Biggio's debut, Bo Bichette's debut in July was amazing, and he kind of just tore up the MLB. It's going to be interesting to see if Bo can carry that on once we get into next season, if he can start that back up next season and become that player again, or if it was just it sounds kind of silly, but if he just did it now, wow. He's fresh in the league. Because next season, a lot of these guys, either they're going to have a sophomore slump or they're not, which sounds silly to say because it's either this or that. But a lot of times pitchers figure out how to get younger guys out after their first season. So a lot of them have a sophomore slump. It's any sport. You dominate as a rookie, or you do usually really good as a rookie if you're a good player. And then your next year, after the league has figured how to get you out in your one way, you either have to learn how to play a different way and have success that way, or you're just never going to have that success again. Or you'll have the odd success because it's baseball and sometimes a fastball slips and you just hit a home run. But I digress. They look good. Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Kevin Biggio. Danny Jansen can be included in this, and Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who revived his career. They're young enough and they look good enough that they can learn how to fight back against whatever the other team is going to throw at them. Because now it's going to be a totally different game against them. And I look forward to seeing it. Next year, of course, it's not going to be a good winning season for the Blue Jays. Unless this offseason they go out and they sign Garrett Cole. They sign like 3 starters, a new bullpen, and like a couple replacement guys. I can't see a playoff debut for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Excuse me, really yawny this morning. I apologize. I can't see Vlad and them making the playoffs next year. Are we close? I sure think so, but it's going to be fun to watch next year. I think these young guys, and you can't have too big of expectations. I think I said this too before. Just enjoy the game. Like, I know it sucks if they're going to get like beat a lot, but just enjoy watching that. Watch these young players grow. Like Biggio had a hit for the cycle. All of these great things that these players have done. Bo Bichette with his first walk-off of the year, or of his career against the Yankees. A lot of this stuff, these might have great plays and great hits. They might not win those games. Probably aren't going to win those games. Might be another 100-loss season. I know they only had 97 losses this year, but what's the difference between 97 and 100 losses? No, I know. Was it 9? Yeah, 95, sorry. 95 and 100. Someone's going to say, oh, well, it's 5 games. Yeah, well, 5 games really doesn't, like, you're not winning or losing. Like, you lost 5. You won 5 more games than if you would have lost 5 more, you would have had 100 losses. Big deal. But, like I'm saying, just look forward to next year. There could be some turnover here. The outfield is a little sketchy for the Blue Jays. And, of course, the biggest turnover heading into the offseason will be Justin Smoak will more likely than not no longer be a Toronto Blue Jay. And for a lot of fans, seeing Smokey become such a fan favorite is kind of like questionable, because when the Blue Jays signed him to an extension, that would have been 3-4 years ago now, myself and a lot of Blue Jays fans were like, what are they doing? They gave pretty, 5, I think it was 5. He's making 8 this year, but it was a lot of money for a guy at the time who was there for defensive replacements and was there to hit home runs. And that was it. That was pretty much it. He would play the 9th inning and the days that Edwin wanted off. Edwin and Encarnacion needed a break. And then he got forward, and then Justin Smoak had a couple great years. And everyone was like, oh, Justin Smoak's actually a good player. Like in 2016, the last year the Blue Jays made the playoffs, he played in 126 games and had a .217 batting average. He did hit 14 home runs. And then the year after, 2017, of course, in 2017, Edwin's gone, Jose is back, Donaldson's hurt. So Smoak was kind of like the face of the offense almost. He hit 38 home runs, 90 RBIs, and was an all-star. And last year, 25 home runs, 77 RBIs. And then this season, 22 home runs, 61 RBIs, and a .208 batting average. So not the best season for Justin Smoak on his way out. He even admitted that when he got a standing ovation as he walked off in the 9th inning. He hit a double, and then, I don't think it was the 9th, sorry. In one of the later innings, he hit a double. He got pinch ran for, and he was walking off. People gave him a standing ovation, as they should, just saying, hey, thanks, Justin, for everything you've done. And he walked into the dugout and said, yeah, you don't really see a standing ovation for a guy that hits .208, but I guess here we are. And, yeah, that's just Justin Smoak, who, self-deprecating in his own way, and great player for the... I don't know what else to say. I'm kind of getting emotional. Just a great player for the Blue Jays in a time when, they didn't really deserve a good player or anyone that was good as him. And he gave his all. And was a great veteran presence in the locker room, from what I've read. I wasn't in the locker room, of course. But he's built a lot on young players to get better and to instill this confidence to get better. And he was huge for Bo Bichette when he suffered a concussion, which put him out for, of course, the end of the season. And I just said to him, like, you're a really special ball player. Don't ruin it by having concussion problems. Like, make sure this one gets fully healed before you try to get back out there on the diamond. Which is, like, for a young guy, most young guys just want to get out there and play. And for him to hold Bo back and be like, listen, recover. It's huge. It means a lot for the Blue Jays and from Justin Smoke. So I guess from Trent Radio here, thank you, Justin Smoke. From all Blue Jays fans, thank you, Justin Smoke. I don't know if this will never get to him, but you did a lot for the Blue Jays, and no one really thought you would. And I mean that in the nicest way possible, but thank you for everything. And to next season, no Justin Smoke, of course, but what to expect. I think I kind of already covered in the rant and the rambles that I've gone on here for the past 10 minutes. They're not going to be good. This year was terrible. They are going to have the 5th overall pick in 2020. Like this season with Vlad, Bo, Biggio, and Gurriel Jr., they were just happy distractions from the really crappy team. Yeah, starting pitching is something the team needs to address this offseason. I don't know who that means bringing in. They had one starter go from April to September, and that was Trent Thornton, who was a rookie. Matt Shoemaker, of course, having a great season, got hurt. He could be back next year. Ryan Baracki, it sounds like he's going to be back next year after dealing with elbow problems all year. But you have to address this in free agency. I don't think there's anyone in the minors that is really set up to help the majors next year and in the future. Of course, Nate Pearson is the top pitching prospect in baseball. Has dominated in the minors and looks ready. He probably won't get called up till May. Manipulate the service time, which we talked about it last year with Vlad. We talked about it with Bo. I personally don't have a problem with it. If it's there, if you can do it, do it. Because sure, it's morally wrong, but you need the best baseball team. And if you can keep Vladdy longer, why not? If you can keep these good young players longer, do it until you can't. Does it ruin a relationship? We're going to see with the Chicago Cubs. They did the same thing with Chris Bryant. And it sounds like he might leave next offseason. I believe he's a free agent. But for the Blue Jays, next year, they have to get starting pitching. They have to get starting pitching. Bullpen, every year you address it. You bring in these older guys. You get them to play half the season. You trade them away at the deadline. I don't think it's a terrible idea. It gets you more assets. I think maybe they should try to get one that, hey, maybe he'll stay for 4 years. A good bullpen arm. They've got Ken Giles, who they're either going to trade or extend. The fan base is calling for an extension. Some of the fan base is calling for a trade. It's good. That's the one thing in this offseason I'm interested to see what the Toronto Blue Jays will do. Because in the infield, except at first base, everything's pretty well set. They've got 2 young catchers in Reese McGuire, Danny Jansen. Jansen, of course, didn't have the greatest season with the bat, but a good enough season all around, especially defensively. Reese McGuire surprised a lot of people. Vlad Jr., of course, is going to man third base, as he should for at least another season or 2 before they really evaluate whether he should move. Bo Bichette is the shortstop of the future. Simple as that. Kevin Biggio looks like he's going to be the second baseman of the future. They're hoping he can be an everyday second baseman. And then that just kind of leaves Rowdy Tellez to play first base. And we'll see how that works out for the Blue Jays, whether he can be a full-time first baseman. He hits home runs, which is great. Anyone in baseball hits home runs. It's up to him now to get on base more and perform that way. And then the outfield, of course, you've got Randall Grichuk. In center, you had Teoscar Hernandez. And in left, you've got Lourdes Gurriel Jr. And I think the only guarantees there, of course, are Grichuk with his 4 years left on his deal, and Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who has done amazing in left field last season after he learned how to play left field. And then in center, you've got Teoscar Hernandez, Anthony Alford, Billy McKinney, Derek Fisher, a lot of guys that have to try to get in there. And that's going to be a thing to see in spring training, just exactly who gets in there and who takes over that spot. But for the Blue Jays, all in all, the whole season, I'm going to cut this rant now. It was successful, in my opinion. It was crappy to watch the first half, not going to lie. But in the end, they brought up the young guys. I'm not on the team. Don't use we. The Blue Jays brought up the young guys. We saw what they could do, what they maybe couldn't do. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. looked human. He's going to perform, I feel like. And from here, it's kind of up to the Blue Jays what they do. Vlad's got to work out this offseason. Of course, he said it. And I think this is going to be a fun team to watch. I keep saying it because I think it's true. This is going to be a team of the future, like the Atlanta Braves, like the San Diego Padres. The Blue Jays are going to look good in the future, and I can't wait to see it. But before we get to the MLB playoffs, we're going to go to a quick break so I can stop rambling. We'll be right back. We are back here, ladies and gentlemen, for your Sports Break, broadcasting on 92.7 C Triple FM here in Peterborough at the wonderful facilities of Trent Radio. Of course. How could you forget Trent Radio? You can't. Wonderful facilities. If you're a Trent student, you got to come see Trent Radio. Come have a show at Trent Radio. Come support Trent Radio, because this truly is more than a radio station. It is a community here, all in one building. And as simple as that was, I actually have to go back. We got a Yankee expert coming on the show. This is going to sound really crazy. I forgot that I have a new phone that doesn't have an aux import, so I can't just plug them into the aux. So I got to kick up a new song here to get you back, just so there's no dead air, because I can't do that to my wonderful listeners. While we get on this Yankee expert, who's going to do a great job, as he always does. We're going to talk about the playoffs coming up. We'll be right back. Listen to Mark Giamatti's Green Fields of the Mind.
My magazine reprinted it. Remarkable, but not as class notes. It breaks your heart. It is designed to break your heart. The game begins in the spring when everything else begins again, and it blossoms in the summer, filling the afternoons and evenings, and then as soon as the chill rains come, it stops and leaves you to face the fall alone. You count on it, rely on it to buffer the passage of time, to keep the memory of sunshine and high skies alive, and then just when the days are all twilight, when you need it most, it stops. Today, October 2nd, a Sunday of rain and broken branches and leaf-clogged drains and slick streets, it stopped, and summer was gone. Somehow the summer seemed to slip by faster this time. Maybe it wasn't this summer, but all the summers that in this, my 40th summer, slipped by so fast. There comes a time when every summer will have something of autumn in it. Whatever the reason, it seemed to me that I was investing more and more in baseball, making the game do more of the work.
All right, we're back. I just got to check. Connor? Hello? Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry, listeners. We're just trying to get this figured out. I think we're going to have to do the phone call another day. This isn't it yet. I'll be right back.
Work that keeps
I don't think we're going to do this today, Getty.
Slow and lazy.
I just can't figure it out. Sorry, man.
Counting on the game's deep patterns.
All right, we'll get you on next week or
outs,
something.
3 times, 3 innings.
All right, sorry, man.
And its deepest impulse to go out and back, to leave and to return home, to set the order of the day.
All right, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. The Yankee expert can't make it today. That's on me. I can't figure out the tech stuff for the studio. All on me. Next week, we'll have him on. His name's Connor Gettler. Great guy, YouTube. Check out the Hosers. He does great content. But what you've been waiting for, the MLB playoffs, we're running low on time. That's all on me. You plan out these things and they just don't work. But like I said, the MLB postseason starts tonight. They already have the schedule out. And if you're a Blue Jays fan, I don't know who to tell you to cheer for. Of course, you probably don't want to cheer for the Yankees or the Rays because they're division rivals. Or maybe you do. Good for you. For me, I'm cheering for the Dodgers. I want to see Clayton Kershaw get his first World Series. I'm tired of people saying Kershaw is not as good as he is because he doesn't have that playoff success. Bothers me a lot when people say that. But I think the Dodgers, how can they not? They were one of the best teams in baseball this year. The biggest difficulty for them, of course, is going to be the Houston Astros, who have had a wonderful season and have the starting rotation of 2 Cy Young candidates in Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole, and then you mix in Zach Greinke. It's going to be an amazing playoffs, but you could cheer for the Twins, who are a home run hitting team against the Yankees. The wild card between Tampa Bay and the Oakland Athletics is going to be amazing, as it always is. Tampa can beat anybody, it seems, and Oakland is just kind of like feist. Like Oakland's just there, always there and feisty. And then over in the NL, there's the Cardinals and the Braves. The Braves are a good young team, a lot of passion there. Kind of a weak starting rotation, so you have to be careful there. And then the Cardinals, a lot of older guys. Wainwright, Andrew Miller, Yadier Molina, Matt Carpenter, all of these older players that have kind of been here before, have won a World Series before. And then they mix in guys like Jack Flaherty, who has become the face of their starting rotation, Harrison Bader. I don't know why I'm trying to work towards this. Carlos Martinez is now their closer. And it's a good team. It's a good Cardinals team. A lot of people didn't think they'd get this far. They won the division. And then, of course, in the wild card, the Brewers and the Nationals. We've kind of beat that one to death this morning so far. I think it's going to be a great playoffs. I think it's going to be one of the best. I can't say it's going to be the best because the Red Sox aren't there. And for me, that really does a lot to take away from it, is that historic rivalry and that team just not being there in the Red Sox. But if they weren't good enough to be there, they shouldn't maybe. It shouldn't tarnish that. That's just my opinion or my thoughts. The odds of winning, of course, are the Houston Astros. They have a 33% chance of winning. This is from the MLB's projection system. Dodgers are in second with 26. Then it's the Yankees, the Nationals, Twins. And the last is actually the Brewers. And I don't know if that's because they don't have Christian Yelich. I totally believe it's because they don't have Christian Yelich. It's going to be interesting to see. It's up to them. They can't live it all on Christian Yelich. And if they can win the wild card and maybe even win a series without him, that would set a lot for the Brewers. It would say a lot about them. Do I think they can? Probably not, but you can always dream, right? Either way, playoffs start tonight. I had the schedule up. I don't know why I didn't talk about it. Sorry about that. Like I said, the wild card is tonight at 8 o'clock. Tomorrow night's Tampa and Oakland at 8:09. And then the division series starts on Thursday with St. Louis at Atlanta at 5 o'clock, and the winner of the NL wildcard versus at LA against the Dodgers at 8:37 p.m. I always forget that in the NL that these are late games. 8:37 start in LA. If you remember last year, it was the 5-6 hour game against the Dodgers and Red Sox in the World Series. 15 innings, I think it went, or 17, sorry. If you stayed up to watch that, good for you. I watched a bit of it. I had class the next day, but just remember that if you have work the next day, a lot of these games are going to start late. On Friday, of course, is the start of the Yankees and Minnesota series, and then it isn't until Saturday that we get the start of the Houston and the ALDS with the Houston Astros and the winner of the AL wild card. But the only thing, we've got the playoffs started. They're going to start tonight. One thing we haven't figured out yet is who is going to win the awards. And for a lot of people, maybe they don't matter. And for a lot of people, they do. There's a lot of, for the AL MVP and the NL MVP, there's a lot of like, what's going to happen? Because there's two players for each side, Mike Trout in the AL and Christian Yelich in the NL, that it's kind of like neither player played the full season. If that kind of makes sense. Let me rephrase that. Trout missed part of the end of the season with an injury. Christian Yelich, of course, broke his shin bone. I don't know what the how to say that properly. But they missed a lot of the season. And then in the AL, Alex Bregman has had an amazing season and continued it to the end of the actual MLB season. Whereas in the NL, Cody Bellinger had an amazing, like Hall of Fame first half and then kind of cooled down. And Anthony Rendon has gotten really hot. So it's going to be interesting to see who challenges Yelich there. In my personal opinion, I think Yelich should win the MVP, and so should Mike Trout. I just think they had the better season, especially Yelich over Bellinger. Bellinger had a great first half, and then second half fell off. In my opinion, that should win it. And Trout, I don't know how you can't give it to the best player who's had the best season. And it is about most valuable player to your team. And I think Mike Trout is the most valuable player of all of those three to his team. Bregman is very important to his team. He helped them through a lot of injuries and made sure they still stayed afloat, but they still have the likes of Verlander and Zach Greinke and Garrett Cole to help them. that's why I kind of don't include him. And Yelich, it does kind of looked like it was Yelich was the only reason the Brewers were succeeding. They made the playoffs without him. Technically, he helped most of the way. Bellinger, there's a lot of guys in the Dodgers that could have picked up for him. He just seemed to be the hottest for the longest, and that's the way I view it because it is the most valuable player. For the Cy Young in the AL, it's literally teammates. It's Verlander versus Cole. Who's going to get it? I personally give it to Justin Verlander. The baseball writers and whoever vote hate Justin Verlander. They gave him one and they gave him the MVP, but they haven't really gave him anything since. And I don't know why they hold this against him, but they do. It's as simple as that. Garrett Cole has had an amazing season. I just don't think it's his yet. I don't think he should win it yet. Maybe after free agency next year when he has an amazing season. He did Verlander. He got his 3,000 strikeout this season. I don't know how you don't give it to him. And then in the NL, it's Jacob deGrom, Steven Strasburg, and kind of the dark horse coming up behind is Jack Flaherty, who had an amazing second half. But if you're going to use the same argument that I did with Cody Bellinger, he shouldn't win it. So it looks like Jacob deGrom. I don't know who else to pick for that. Last year, of course, he had an amazing season. He had like a 1.83 ERA, I think. And then this season, he's had pretty good. He hasn't had as good as last year, but he's had a really good season. Steven Strasburg, of course, has kind of held the Nationals there while Scherzer was out on injury. Strasburg just held the rotation. Hyung Jin Ryu, of course, had a great start for the Dodgers, but just kind of fell back from that. In the Rookie of the Year, I know we're just kind of rambling on here, but very important. Pete Alonso looks like he ran away with the NL. How can he not? He hit 53 home runs. It's as simple as that. The closest would have been Mike Soroka in Atlanta, who's pitched amazing. It's probably going to be a big part of their playoff push. And then, of course, Fernando Tatis Jr. in San Diego. And in the AL, a lot of people would think, oh, what about Vladimir Guerrero Jr.? Nope, not even close, in my opinion. If anything, I would put Bo Bichette up before I would put Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for the AL MVP. Simple as that, is that Vlad just floundered in this, or floundered? Yeah, I think that's the word. Tough start. You can tell we're getting close to the end of the show. It's going to be Yordan Alvarez with the Houston Astros. It's as simple as that. He debuted on June 9th, and he's been the best rookie since. He's top 5 in OPS. He's second in OPS, sorry. And it's the best ever rookie OPS since our closest to Shoeless Joe Jackson, Aaron Judge, and Ken Williams. Kind of like right up there with them, which is, believe it or not, really good players. The AL didn't have as many good rookies as the NL did. Eloy Jimenez had a good season. Brandon Lowe with the Rays. But like the NL, like Mike Soroka, Fernando Tatis Jr., Chris Paddock with the Padres, Brian Reynolds with the Pirates. It's just been like great year for rookies. Baseball, as every other sport, is heading younger, which is a great thing for baseball because it just means better players. Does it kick out the older players? Yeah, so a lot of fan favorites leave, but baseball is getting younger, and that's just amazing. To wrap it up here, Manager of the Year, it's probably going to go to Aaron Boone of the Yankees and Craig Counsell with the Brewers. It's as simple as that. I don't know how AJ Hinch doesn't even get AJ Hinch, to me, has to get some votes simply because of what he's done with the Astros. I know they're a good team, but like, they still won a lot of games. It's kind of like the NHL. They never give it to the guy that had the most wins and coached his team the best. It's, well, you weren't supposed to make the playoffs and you did, so you should win. I mean, Aaron Boone did manage the Yankees to a playoff spot with like everybody injured, so that'll probably help him. But yeah, like I said, the playoffs coming up are going to be amazing. Tonight's the NL wildcard. Tomorrow night's the AL wildcard. We'll break apart the first week of the MLB playoffs. Next week, we'll start about the beginning of the NHL season, touch on the NBA season beginning, preseason starting up soon, what that means for the Raptors. But enjoy playoff baseball while it is here, because it's going to be gone sooner than later, and that's just, we won't get into that. That's too sad. That's a touchy subject. But of course, that is all the time we have today for your Sports Break, broadcasted on 92.7 C Triple FM here in Peterborough, Canada. This show, of course, can be streamed I don't know when. I'm sorry. If you've missed previous shows, you can catch up on Twitter at SportsBreakTR. We'll be back next Tuesday at 9 a.m. for another show where we'll talk about, of course, the NHL season beginning and the MLB playoffs. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, to check your smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. It is Fire Prevention Week coming up. Check your smoke and carbon monoxide alarms, and have a good day.